past can hide in plain sight. It can walk into a neighborhood, smile, and claim it had changed. On June 25th, 2010, the summer day started off like any other. Porches creaked, televisions hummed, and neighbors waved. Children played. And then, in a single house on Lincoln Street, 4 lives were extinguished. Denise Merhi, Dennis Marsh, Alvin Marsh, and Steven Zernhelt, ordinary people with routines, hopes, and love, were gone in minutes. The neighborhood would never be the same. Michael Ballard had served his time for the 1992 murder of Donald Richard. He claimed to be rehabilitated. The system believed it. The community trusted it. But redemption had been a mask, a carefully constructed illusion, hiding a man capable of unimaginable violence. Justice measures punishment. Prisons confine bodies. Courts close cases. But no system can measure what a life has left behind or what a life can take. On Lincoln Street, the ordinary became tragic. The familiar became dangerous, and a community learned, too late, that some people can wear the mask of redemption, while the shadow of their past grows darker by the day. The lives Michael Ballard took, the lives he left behind, and the lies he lived would linger far longer than anyone could have ever imagined. You are listening to Departed in Pennsyltucky, 43, 15, 8, 29. Part 2. The Case of Denise Merhi, Dennis Marsh, Alvin Marsh, and Steven Zernhelt. Chapter 6. Northampton Rallies. The city of Northampton was left shattered. The brutality on Lincoln Street had carved wounds into the heart of the community that would never fully heal. Alvin Marsh, a World War II veteran who was deaf and blind, was killed in his wheelchair. Steven Zernhelt had crossed the yard after hearing screams, only to be fatally stabbed, leaving behind a grieving widow and 3 children. Denise Merhi, mother to Annika and Tristan, had her life violently stolen alongside her father and grandfather. After killing Dennis Marsh, Michael Ballard wrote a slur in blood on the wall beside him, a grotesque signature of the terror he had unleashed. Friends and relatives of Denise Merhi said there had been no indication that Michael Ballard posed a threat. He and Denise had dated briefly, a relationship that had ended years earlier. At a birthday party long ago, his behavior had unsettled people, offering alcohol, making constant physical contact, and placing his hands on others' shoulders. It was the kind of presence that left a lingering unease, a creeping sense that something was off. But after the relationship ended, Michael Ballard had not returned to trouble Denise. There were no warnings, no signs of the unimaginable violence that would erupt years later. The attack was a shock no one could have predicted. a nightmare that descended suddenly on a quiet, trusting town. In the wake of the murders, Northampton's spirit refused to break. The community rallied around Denise Merhi's children. Police officers, firefighters, neighbors, and local businesses collected donations, packed groceries, and even hosted a hot dog sale to support Annika and Tristan. A massive benefit drew over 1,000 people, raising close to $17,000 to help the family through their darkest days. In the face of incomprehensible violence, Northampton revealed its heart, resilient, united, and unyielding. Yet, no amount of money, no gathering of friends or neighbors could undo what had happened on Lincoln Street. A peaceful town that had been forever changed by a man who, despite prior incarceration and the warnings of those who knew him best, was allowed back into society and killed again. The shadow of that day stretched far beyond the houses and streets of Northampton. It became a reminder that some violence cannot be contained, that some people cannot be fixed, and that grief lingers long after the sirens fade. Chapter 7: Tangled Bonds. Michael Eric Ballard and Denise Merhi first met in 2007 at a small medical office in Northampton County, where Denise worked as a medical assistant. Michael Ballard was there for a physical examination, required for employment, following his release from prison. At the time, Denise was engaged to a 37-year-old IT tech she had met on Match.com. They had been together for nearly 2 years, a seemingly stable relationship. But everything changed in 2007 when Michael Ballard entered her life. Her connection with Michael Ballard intensified rapidly, and by April, she ended her engagement. It was brief, it was ordinary, and yet, it changed everything. Michael and Denise exchanged numbers. Calls became dates. Dates became something faster, deeper, more consuming. Officially, Michael Ballard still lived at a halfway house. Unofficially, he was already part of Denise's life. Michael quickly formed a bond, not only with Denise, but also with her children, Annika and Tristan. Within weeks, he was spending nights at her home, embedding himself in the rhythms of her household, alongside her father and grandfather. He helped with homework, celebrated birthdays, and brought a festive energy to holidays with elaborate Christmas decorations. He spoke constantly about the future, adopting Denise's children, moving to Arkansas, and starting a family of their own. And he embraced his role with enthusiasm, showering the children with affection and attention. To outsiders, he appeared to be a man seeking redemption. Friends warned Denise about Michael's violent past, but she minimized it, focusing instead on how he made her feel: wanted, chosen, alive. Their chemistry was explosive. She set her ringtone to Sex on Fire and called him Superman, a nickname that captured the intensity of their bond. But behind the smiles and gestures, cracks were forming. As a condition of parole, Michael was required to attend anger management counseling through forensic treatment services. He resented it, believing the counselors were baiting him, waiting for a reason to send him back to prison. When they discovered he was dating Denise, still technically engaged, they intensified their scrutiny. The relationship, they warned, was inappropriate. However, Michael and Denise kept it a secret. Even as he moved in with Denise, he continued listing his Hall Street residence as his official parole address. Despite these tensions, Michael attempted to solidify their relationship. After a symbolic, non-binding wedding ceremony beneath a tree, he gave Denise a diamond necklace. The rings, the vows, they held profound meaning for him, even if it carried no legal weight. In April of 2008, the law intervened. Michael violated parole by missing anger management sessions and was returned to prison. Denise sent him scrapbooks, letters, and photos, but her commitment to him began to waver over time. By late 2009, she had resumed a relationship with Brian Miller, the man she had left for Michael, and had become engaged again. Brian moved back into Denise's home, and they planned to marry in August of 2010. Yet Denise continued writing to Michael, expressing love, maintaining the connection. In December of 2009, Michael was granted parole with a scheduled release in April of 2010. He briefly returned to prison after another violation, but was eventually released, required to reside at the Allentown Community Correction Center. From there, he reconnected with Denise. Jealousy had taken root. Michael grew suspicious of other men in her life. Overwhelmed, Denise confessed that she was engaged to Brian, hoping honesty would mitigate the pain. It did not. Michael considered Denise his wife and cut off all contact. Denise continued calling and writing, desperate to maintain the bond. One day after his release, Denise ended her engagement to Brian and returned to Michael. But the damage was done. Their relationship strained under the weight of jealousy, mistrust, and escalating arguments. In the days leading up to June 25, 2010, the couple exchanged 86 text messages about marriage, family, and the possibility of a child. On June 22nd, Denise expressed excitement and fear, worrying about family reactions and how her body would change with pregnancy. Michael reassured her and even sent the contact information for a Northampton borough judge to explore marriage. By June 25th, Michael's obsession had consumed him. He called his close friend Marilyn Rivera repeatedly, frantic over Denise's refusal to answer. When he learned she had been at the Jersey Shore and seen at a Phillies game with another man, his frustrations escalated. Attempts to meet Marilyn the following day failed, leaving him increasingly isolated, agitated, and consumed by the need to act. Chapter 8: The Descent, Preparation, and Obsession. On the morning of June 25th, 2010, Michael was visibly restless at the correction center, pacing near the phones between 8:39 and 11:41 a.m., slamming the receiver repeatedly. The cameras at the Allentown Community Correction Center caught him leaving, casual, almost mundane. Jeans frayed at the knees, brown boots scuffed from old walks, and a faded Superman logo stretched across a light blue t-shirt. A blue-green baseball cap hid his eyes, but it could not hide the meticulous rhythm of his movements. Every step was measured. Every pause was deliberate. In his green backpack, the tools of intent waited quietly. On his belt, a radio hum low, a small companion to his silent march. The streets around him buzz with normal life. A mother chasing her toddler, a cyclist riding through traffic, a dog barking at an invisible threat. None of it mattered. None of it noticed him. 2 pawn shops lay ahead, unremarkable to anyone else, but for Michael, they were milestones. At Pawn America, he traced the curves of samurai swords and decorative daggers, his fingers brushing cold steel with the relevance of a craftsman choosing his instrument. Yet, nothing satisfied him. He left empty-handed. A-Town Pawn offered more, a chorus of knives, each one tested for weight, balance, and sharpness. He handled them slowly, almost lovingly, until one fit perfectly in his hand. He examined the blade under the fluorescent lights, feeling its potential, imagining it in use. Satisfaction settled like a shadow over him, deliberately. The next stop was ritual, a 7-Eleven, a payphone, the scratch of coils, a call made, voice hidden behind the metallic receiver, a bus ticket purchased, not to escape, but to maintain control, to mask intention. Even then, he did not go straight to Denise's house. First, Boxer's Bar and Grill, a Long Island iced tea in hand. The bar's chatter, the clink of glasses, the low music, it all swirled around him, irrelevant. He drank slowly, deliberately, letting each sip mark a heartbeat in his private countdown. Then, at a Sante restaurant, another drink, another pause, the warm smells of pasta and garlic masking the chill growing in his mind. Finally, Ridge Alley. He cut through a neighbor's yard, a shortcut granted by trust he did not deserve. The path was familiar, yet every step carried a tension, a tightrope between discovery and secrecy. 2 days before, Denise had taken Annika and Tristan to Seaside Heights for Annika's birthday. Michael's calls went unanswered, drowned out by the sun, the sand, and the laughter of oblivious joy. But now, Denise was home. The waiting had ended. Michael Ballard moved through the streets, like a shadow cast long by the rising sun, each step deliberate, each movement a whisper of the obsession that had grown unchecked, a darkness settling around him, ready to consume. Chapter 9. The Crime. It was June 25th, 2010, a day that would forever scar Lincoln Street. Michael Ballard had been planning this for days. Earlier, Michael had prowled the alleys around Denise's home, circling, watching, waiting. He bought vodka. He called Denise, pressing her about Peter Hoff. She said he was just a friend. That was all he needed. By the time Debbie Hawkey drove over to pick up her van, the horrors inside the house had already been completed. Denise, Alvin, and Dennis were dead. The violence was deliberate, methodical, and finished. The murders took time, carried out one by one, each in a separate room. By the time Michael left, there were no screams left, no hesitation, just death. At 4:45 p.m., Debbie arrived to pick up her van. The mailbox was empty. The front door was slightly ajar. Inside, the keys to her van sat on the dining room table. She did not see the killings. She did not know what had just happened. It was only when she entered the kitchen that she realized something was horribly wrong. Panic surged, and she ran, bursting onto the Zernhelt's porch, screaming. From next door, Steven and Janet Zernhelt sat on the couch, absorbed in a movie, unaware of the violence that had already just passed yards away. And a few short moments later, Steven himself will be part of Michael Ballard's reign of terror. 2 days later, on June 27, 2010, Michael Ballard was officially charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder, an act that etched the horrors of Lincoln Street into Northampton's history forever. Chapter 10. The Courtroom Reckoning. August 23rd, 2010. The courthouse of Northampton rose against the sky like a silent sentinel, its walls cold and unyielding. Inside, the town's darkest secrets were about to be laid bare. Michael Ballard sat at counsel's table, expression unreadable, hands resting on the smooth wooden surface, eyes distant but alert. Every person in the courtroom seemed to shrink beneath his gaze, even if they did not realize it. The families of the 4 victims filed in, hearts tight, stomachs knotted, unaware of the precise horror that awaited them. This was no trial yet. There were no witnesses shouting or dramatic objections. There was only the meticulous presentation of truth, testimony, coroner's reports, photographs, and physical evidence. And already, the weight of it pressed down on everyone present. Outside, the late August air hinted at the coming fall. Inside, the room was thick with anticipation and dread, the quiet resolve of people forced to confront the unthinkable. Friends and relatives filled the benches. Some held hands. Others stared straight ahead. Some wept silently. All felt the tension, like a living thing in the room. The preliminary hearing began. Prosecutors presented evidence in stark, unflinching detail. Michael Ballard remained still, calm on the surface, even when the prosecutor described how Denise Merhi had been allowed to see other people. To anyone else, that detail might have seemed ordinary. To Michael Ballard, it was betrayal, justification, motivation. Michael Ballard's attorneys explored an insanity defense and sought to exclude statements and his prior conviction from trial, citing possible brain dysfunction and the need for further testing. Northampton County prosecutors countered with grim clarity. The killings were deliberate, calculated, and methodical. Michael Ballard's history suggested intent, preparation, and knowledge, none of which hinted at insanity. Every legal argument, every procedural motion, collided with the cold reality of 4 lives brutally extinguished. State troopers testified that while on parole at the Allentown Community Correction Center, Michael Ballard referred to Denise as his wife, a claim suggesting intimacy others did not recognize. Investigators cataloged his belongings, a Bible, and a copy of the 48 Laws of Power, with Law 21, play a sucker to catch a sucker, emphasized. The marked law outlined calculated deception, the projection of weakness to control and manipulate. Prosecutors argued the passage was symbolic, a window into a man who cultivated trust and positioned himself before the violence erupted. Prison drawings were introduced. One showed Michael Ballard standing over a woman labeled Denise. Another showed her daughter, Annika, with the chilling words, "Should have raped her." Then came the coroner testimony, clinical, precise, methodical, but devastating. Denise Merhi had 43 stab wounds. Defensive wounds marked her hands and forearms. One blade pierced her lung. Another struck her liver. Her voice box was shredded, a record of repeated forceful intent. Cuts overlapped, showing rapid, repeated thrusts. A band on her left ring finger hinted at a closeness she and Michael Ballard had not legally formalized. Dennis Marsh had 15 stab wounds, mostly through the back and torso. Several penetrated deeply, damaging vital organs. Defensive injuries indicated attempts to turn and shield himself from Michael Ballard's attacks. Alvin Marsh, 87 and confined to a wheelchair, faced his television when Michael Ballard struck. Deep cuts severed critical structures in his neck. He inhaled blood as he breathed, conscious for part of the attack. Some in the courtroom could not bear to watch, leaving as the magnitude of his injuries became clear. Steven Zernhelt had 29 stab wounds, one long, sweeping slash cut from cheek to chest, crossing jaw, neck, and torso. Defensive wounds on his arms and hands were deeper than others, consistent with a man grappling desperately to control the weapon. The pathologist testified that the distribution and number of wounds indicated prolonged, forceful struggle, each wound intentional, each wound precise. 2 knives were entered as evidence, one from the household kitchen, one recovered later from Denise's stolen vehicle. Both carried Michael Ballard's DNA. One also bore Steven Zernhelt's. The pathologist confirmed: sustained, sequential, intentional. This was no crime of passion. It was meticulous, merciless. Then, the courtroom shifted to Denise Merhi's private life. Peter Hoff testified first. He described a reconnection in June of 2010. Nights blurred with bars, music, and alcohol across the Lehigh Valley. Laughter, drinks, and fleeting moments that ended with him staying at Denise's house until dawn. Those hours seemed ordinary, innocent, but they were the last before Michael Ballard's violence erupted. Peter Hoff recalled how he learned of the killings. Sitting at a Phillies game, phone calls came repeatedly, voices tight, careful, refusing to speak the words directly. He did not know exactly who was dead, only that Michael Ballard had struck again. The chilling uncertainty of that moment was now part of the courtroom record. Brian Miller took the stand next. He went back further to New Year's Eve of 2005. Snow falling quietly, a proposal filled with hope. Denise had said yes. But by 2007, the engagement was over. Michael Ballard had entered her life, persistent, intrusive, impossible to ignore. Brian Miller described the constant undercurrent of Michael Ballard's presence: calls, messages, demands, and probes into Denise's relationships. Even after the breakup, Michael Ballard monitored her movements, enforcing his own vision of possession and control. Brian Miller recounted the day Denise was murdered. Texts at 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. saying, "It was nice seeing you again." Ordinary words that preceded violence. Peter Hoff's and Brian Miller's testimony revealed a man unable to relinquish control, whose jealousy and obsession had sharpened into lethal intent. His prior violence, manipulations, and meticulous planning now had a human context. Denise's choices, the lives around her, and the way Michael Ballard's rage intersected with ordinary days. The family sat silent, absorbing the weight of what had been done to each of the people they loved. Each number, each wound, each movement Michael Ballard orchestrated now had context, not random acts of violence, but the culmination of obsession, manipulation, and murder. And as the courtroom quieted, the numbers hung in the air, echoing the autopsy reports. 43, 15, 8, 29. "43 stab wounds for Denise Merhi, 15 stab wounds for Dennis Marsh, 8 stab wounds for Alvin Marsh, 29 stab wounds for Steven Zernhelt. Each number, a life violently ended, a body rearranged, a soul silenced. Michael Ballard's past and his choices were now fully revealed. Lincoln Street's horror was permanent, etched into memory, impossible to forget. Chapter 7: Faces of Loss. On May 11th, 2011, the quiet of Northampton was shattered, not by violence, but the finality of it. Inside the courthouse, the families of the Lincoln Street victims prepared to hear the words that would close a chapter of unimaginable horror. Michael Ballard would plead guilty to the murders of Denise Merhi, Dennis Marsh, Alvin Marsh, and Steven Zernhelt. The legal battle was over, yet the air was heavy with grief that no sentence could erase. Months of testimony, coroner reports, and the stark images of the crime scene had already carved themselves into the hearts of the living. Now, the court would formally acknowledge what everyone had already knew. Lives had been taken, innocence destroyed, and the community forever scarred. The jury's task was narrower and heavier: decide whether Michael Ballard would die or spend the rest of his life in prison. The preliminary hearing in August of 2010 had laid bare the unimaginable brutality of Lincoln Street. The families walked out of the courthouse carrying the weight of evidence, coroner testimony, and the haunting images of those they had lost. Yet, even after seeing the full scope of the crime, justice remained out of reach. In cases like this, the law moved slowly. The months that followed were filled with motions, evaluations, and painstaking review of evidence. The community waited as prosecutors and defense attorneys negotiated. Witnesses were interviewed again, and courts scheduled for the next steps. For the victims' families, each day stretched long, a cruel echo of the violence they had endured. Prosecutors laid out the aggravating factors. Michael Ballard's past violence mattered, especially the 1992 murder of Donald Richard. So did his words. He had told a cellmate that he killed Denise out of jealousy because she was seeing other men. The others, he admitted, were killed to eliminate witnesses. The defense again looked backward, urging jurors to consider his earlier crime. Michael Ballard had been 18, they argued. He had suffered a childhood head injury. Some disorders might explain his behavior. The jury, however, was unmoved. Families rose one by one to describe what the murders had done to their lives. Denise Merhi's children spoke first. They were young, but the loss had aged them beyond their years. Birthdays came and went without their mother. School plays, soccer games, and piano recitals became reminders of a presence that would never return. Each day carried a quiet, unrelenting absence that reshaped their world. Dennis Marsh's family described the man who had been their anchor, a father and grandfather. His guidance and protection had kept the household steady. His death left a void, not just in the family, but in the sense of normalcy, the trust that home was safe. That trust had been shattered in a few brutal hours. Alvin Marsh's family spoke next, their voices trembling. 87 years old, deaf and blind, confined to a wheelchair. He had lived quietly after serving in World War II. Yet, even he could not escape the violence. The words that his family chose barely contained the indignity and terror of his final moments. The television had been on when the attack came, a small comfort that offered no protection. They could not protect him, and the image of that helplessness haunted them. Denise's cousin described the incomprehensible cruelty. Michael Ballard had killed a man who could not see, could not hear, could not stand. Janet Zernhelt and her 3 children shared their heartfelt memories of Steven. He had always acted with bravery, rushing towards danger instead of retreating, driven by an instinct to protect others. Janet recalled hearing what she first thought was an odd scream while watching a movie with Steven. He had gone outside to investigate and seen nothing usual. Then later, a more desperate scream rang out, a woman pleading for help, and Steven ran towards it. He did not return. Steven and Janet's daughter, Jamie, recounted the bittersweet memory of hearing Steven's voice on their answering machine, a precious memory of him after his tragic murder. On the day of the murders, while at a party in Maryland, Jamie received the devastating news that Steven had been stabbed. Alongside her brothers, she hurried back to Pennsylvania, absorbing the heartbreaking reality that Steven had not survived. The children reminisced about the small, cherished moments with their father, his laughter, the way he tucked them in at night when they were little. Those memories now existed as frozen snapshots, vivid and deeply painful. Although Steven's life was abruptly taken, his courage and the impact he had on his family would remain etched in their hearts forever. Each story circled back to the same truths: the abruptness of the loss, the rupture of safety, the grief that would not relent. And always, in the center of it all, was Steven Zernhelt, a man who had run towards threat and paid the ultimate price. His heroism left a permanent mark on the living, a reminder that courage sometimes costs everything. The impact statements were not just words. They were an indictment of the cruelty, the premeditation, and the deliberate force unleashed in that house. They were a plea for justice that could never bring back the lives lost. And as the family spoke, one truth was clear: the world had changed forever, and nothing could restore what had been stolen. By the time jurors began deliberating, they had seen the physical devastation and heard the emotional aftermath. They were left to weigh not only the brutality of the killings, but the fact that Michael Ballard had once before had been given a second chance, and that 4 lives ended in its wake. Jurors deliberated for less than 2 hours. When they returned, the verdict was unmistakable: 4 death sentences for Michael Ballard. The courtroom erupted. Relatives of the 4 victims shouted in agreement, some crying in relief, forcing the judge to call order. After months of testimony and years of grief, the decision felt final. The prosecution noted that a life sentence would have meant nothing to Michael Ballard. Prison, they said, had been familiar ground, home. Death, by contrast, was the only sentence that fit the scale of the crime. Outside the courthouse, families clung to one another, tears flowing freely. Janet Zernhelt spoke quietly but firmly, reflecting on the moment. Justice had been achieved for their loved ones and for the Merhi family. Yet, even with legal closure, the reality remained painfully clear. No verdict could bring back the lives stolen. One truth remained above all else. The world had changed forever, and what had been lost could never be restored. Epilogue. What remains? This story began in a quiet room. Janet Zernhelt stood at the front. In her hand was a medal, small enough to fit in her palm, heavy enough to carry the weight of a lifetime. The courtroom battles were over. The history had been read. The question hung in the air. If someone kills once, will they kill again? In this case, yes. In 1992, Michael Ballard had killed before, stabbing Donald Richard to death, sentenced to 17 years in prison, then parole. And 2 months after his release, 4 more people were gone. 4 families shattered. 4 lives ended in a single afternoon. And yet, another question lingers. Why would Denise Merhi choose Michael Ballard? From the outside, it seems impossible. Certain, we would have seen. We would have known. But relationships seldom begin with warning labels. They begin with attention, a conversation. Someone remembers how you take your coffee, a call at the end of a long day. They begin with hope and the belief that people can change. When Michael Ballard was released for the murder of Donald Richard, he did not make headlines. He arrived as a man claiming to have paid his debt, speaking of faith, of starting over. And in that ordinary hope, he killed again. When Michael Ballard was sentenced to death for the murders of Denise Merhi, Dennis Marsh, Alvin Marsh, and Steven Zernhelt, it left him unmoved. Any hope of appeal was gone. He would face the sentence as imposed. Pennsylvania had not carried out an execution since 1999, and delays in the system meant that Michael Ballard would remain alive for now, housed at the State Correctional Institution at Greet. Yet, whether in life or in the shadow of death, he feels no fear. Execution, isolation, none of it matters. He would not plead. He would not beg, would not ask for mercy. The system's failure is clear. A man who had already taken a life was let back into the world, and the cost was 4 more deaths. That decision, that release, is part of the story now, just as much as his violence. But on that Saturday afternoon, Someone else made a choice. Steven Zernhelt stepped outside, crossed the yard, moved towards the screams instead of away. Not because he knew the outcome, not for recognition, but because someone might need help. Responsibility for violence belongs to the person who chooses it. Courage belongs to those who choose differently. At the ceremony, none of this was debated. No transcripts. No arguments about parole. No analysis of history repeating itself. Just Janet, holding a medal that could not bring her husband back. This story ends where it all began, in that quiet room, with that small heavy piece of metal in Janet's hands. Most of us will never sit in a courtroom like that. But many of us will love, trust, give someone another chance. Step toward the sound you cannot ignore. Violence repeated itself in this story, and so did courage. And that is what remains. This concludes this week's episode of Departed in Pennsyltucky. I'm your host, Andrea Dudek. Tune in next time for more true crime talk without the Valley Girl squawk.